isn't success, it's failure. So I was forced to start over again. And now I teach things in a very, very different way. The straight line system represents ethical persuasion.
So correct me if this is just rumor, but I understand now you dedicate a portion of your work to protecting consumers in a different way, that is protecting them from the con artists out there. Is that true?
Yeah, well, on a couple of different levels. For instance, one of the things I always say, which is great with the straight line system, is once you learn it, it almost gives you a shield against being manipulated by an unscrupulous salesperson, because you could see it coming a mile away. Even this most subtle thing where they try to use tonality to influence you emotionally, or they try to future pace you, meaning to put you in the future using their prompt and feeling it. All these things that salespeople do. Now, it's once you realize they're doing it, that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy that process. Because if you need what someone's selling, hey, let them, go ahead, sell me. Tell me why I need this. Tell me why I'm open to it. But I also know when they're full of shit, okay, and they're trying to just pull the wool over my eyes, and it sort of insulates you. So for me, I look at the straight line system as both, it's a sword and a shield, okay? But it's a sword only to be used for goodness, not to hurt people.
So when you say persuasion, what exactly do you mean?
Well, when I talk about persuasion, that's like, it's sort of when I say that it's not just for salespeople. Persuasion is really about, making your ideas, your concepts, your thoughts, your hopes, your dreams known to other people in a way that wants them to be a part of it, that moves them to take action. There's this idea of what is success, how does someone become successful? Well, it always starts with them having a vision for the future. They have this vision of the way they want the world to be. That's not how it is now. Whether it's starts with having a business or a raise or something about a job in their job, then about having a nicer home, more money to spend. And money just meaning to have freedom to do the things they really want to do, to protect their family, to give to a church, a temple, to be generous, whatever it might be, right? But it always starts with you're here, you're somewhere, right, at the present, and then you have this idea of like, I see the world better for myself and the people around me. That's my vision for the future. And the question really is how do you connect the dots? How do you go from this place to that place, right? Well, I will tell you this. If you do not know how to persuade people, it is virtually impossible unless you want to hit lotto. You get lucky, you can hit lotto. Or if you remember the Lucky Sperm Club and you inherit it from your parents, right? Well, maybe, yeah, you can circumvent that process. But it's really about seeing the world as it is right now accurately, not worse than it is, but seeing the world accurately, then seeing the world better than it is, and then developing a strategy to get there. And one of the cornerstone strategies for that is being able to persuade, to influence, to make your thoughts known in a way that empowers people and gets you what you want to. Most people, and here's the irony, is that most people don't have a compelling vision for their own future. They don't. They move through life setting goals. And goals have no power. We're at this point, goals had power in 1959 when Earl Nightingale came with this idea of goal setting, and everyone's like, "Wow, I'm a goal-oriented person," and that was great. And it worked for like 20 years. Everyone set goals, and they got results. But then all of a sudden, you set goals, and sometimes you hit them, sometimes you don't. Most times you don't. Okay, and that's okay. But goals almost became like a synonym for like, oh, I'm going to set a goal, and who gives a shit what really happens afterwards? And it almost is synonymous with failure now, goal setting. There's something above, and I believe in setting goals, but there's got to be something above your goals, and that's your vision for the future. And it's not just about, it doesn't have like an ending point. It's about the world being a certain way. And that's inspiring to you. When you truly have a vision for your future that inspires you, you're going to jump up out of bed in the morning and feel great about going at life versus being miserable and going to a job you hate or living a life that doesn't empower you and just, every day moving through just almost like an automaton, not really, having the zest and the greatness of life. And I'm guilty. I've been there myself when I felt like I didn't really have a compelling vision for my own future and I felt like I was wallowing. But at least I'm conscious of that. Once you become conscious of that, you can consciously create a vision for your future. It doesn't happen in 1 minute or an hour. You write it down. You work on it and when you finally hit on it, how you know you got it? When you read it back to yourself, your vision statement, and it moves you and you feel inspired. Okay? And, so few people have that. And what happens is every human being is thirsty for a vision. Everyone is. And so few people have one. So what do? They gravitate towards someone who has a vision for the future because they want to be a part of a vision. Part of being a great entrepreneur is having that vision, being able to create the vision, and then sell that vision to other people, to get them to want to be inspired, to buy into it, to put in their time, their hard work, their elbow grease to help you achieve your vision. If you're a smart one, then you spread the wealth around, and it's a win-win for everybody. But it always comes back to persuasion, because if you have the vision, but you can't sell it, what happens? You so-called you die with your music still on your lips.
So Jordan, let's go back and talk about the other side of the movie, the drugs, the yacht, the prostitutes.
Oh my God. Well, unfortunately, most of that is true. I mean, the only thing that isn't true is sometimes the sequences, the times are shifted and stuff like that. But I did do that stuff. I mean, I slept with all those prostitutes, and there's a couple of really embarrassing scenes there. And, people would always say to me, how could you write that stuff? How could you, admit to that? And I said, well, if I'm going to really write a memoir that's going to be, real, it's going to be authentic, and it's going to resonate with people, I have to write the whole story. I have to, and, the insanity, and it's meant to be insane. Some of the comments, negative comments I got from reviewers sometimes, like, oh, he's reveling in his insanity, like he seems so proud. And nothing could be further from the truth. I am totally not proud of those things I did. I'm embarrassed by some of them, but the idea was to take the reader on a journey into the mind of someone who had lost control. I come from an amazingly great family. My mom is, the oldest woman in New York State to pass the bar. She went back to law school at 64. She became a lawyer at 69. She was voted pro bono lawyer of the year at 76 for doing charity work for people that were homeless. So, that's my mom. My dad, same way, totally ethical guy. My brother, top lawyer in the country. I was not sent out into the world like, okay, you're come from some mob family, or you're supposed to be a grifter. I was sent out in the world to do great things. And I went down to Wall Street, and I really had the best of intentions. And, and I'm not going to blame Wall Street for what happened to me, because there's a lot of people who go to Wall Street and don't get corrupted. But I did. I allowed myself to get sucked into that sort of Gordon Gekko-esque greed is good philosophy. And what happened was, and there was some things with timing where the market crashed when I first became a stockbroker, and then there was a shakeup in the market. And then I had that ability to sell. And that was really what set me apart from pretty much all other brokers. I could just outsell them all. And then when I hit on the ability to actually train others to do the same. And there's a big difference there. Like I always say, sometimes the best athletes aren't the best coaches. They suck at coaching, right? Well, for me, I would say, I'm a really good salesman. I won't deny that I am. Okay, so I could say that not to be conceited, because people know that about me. But I will tell you this. I'm a 10 times better sales trainer than I am at even selling myself, and I enjoy training salesmen. I love taking someone. It turns me on. I am empowered by it, by taking people who are having trouble in their own lives. They're not successful, and showing them how to become successful by essentially giving them this gift of persuasion. It's a gift that you give to yourself, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. And once you have it, it never goes away. The kids that I trained, all these no-name, talentless kids, you know what? They all became, not all is a tough word, but 95+% of them went on to become very, very successful in all sorts of business. Some of them, one owns an airline, one of them is a medical. They're all, they're very successful. So once you learn the sort of the art, the power of persuasion, it stays with you forever. And then it's up to you to make sure that you don't lose your morality, because it's a powerful thing to have. Once you master the straight, let me go back, forget master. Once you become even reasonably proficient, you don't even have to be a master. Once you even become good at it, you can actually manipulate people. You can get people to do things they shouldn't do. And shame on you if you do that, because it won't last. It's not sustainable. In other words, you can do it, but any success you have will be short-lived. The idea is to be giving massive value to people. This is this equation that I just completely missed out on when I was 26 years old. I thought business was about making money, and it's not. Business is about giving value and monetizing that value. That's what business is about. You start a business because you have something that's great, that's worth something. The business is how you monetize that. You get to spread that out and then get dollars in exchange for your value. If there's no value underneath the business, it's built on sand. It's not a foundation, won't last. So that was, and I had to learn the hard way, and I lost everything. And when I went to jail and I wrote these books, I never thought that this would happen. And I gave away all the money from this, probably going to make, God, those $20, $30, $40 million on these books in the next couple of years. That money's, I'm not making a penny of that. All that money's going back to investors. And I don't know if there's anyone left. I mean, most people got paid back. Because it's kind of weird. No one knows if there's anyone left. It's this bizarre thing, you know, U.S. government, right? So no one can really tell me how many people really are left that haven't been paid. But whatever it is, I'm not making any money on this because I didn't want to make money on my past life. But what I do say is this, that when you look at anyone's life and you want to model someone, you want to learn from them, don't model every aspect of them. I get probably 50 emails a day on the low side. 48 of them are amazingly great. I went through your course, or I bought the straight line system online from you, and it's changed my life. I've done this. Then I get this one idiotic moron. Oh, Wolf, let's just do some lewds together, or let's go bang hookers, or let's go rip you. You know, I mean, you know, that's idiotic, okay? You know, if you go to the movie and watch this movie, you need to understand that, you know, there's some of the stuff in there that's amazing. As you watch a guy who had no money, you know, hit on an idea of trading people and build this amazing thing. But this thing about, you know, all the hookers I slept with and all the cocaine I snorted, frankly, I'm lucky I'm still alive. It's by the grace of God I'm still alive, okay? And if I wouldn't have gotten caught, okay, by this Agent Coleman, who's a real, you know, he plays, it's Agent Denham in the movie, but it's Agent Coleman, who's a friend of mine now. We speak all the time, and by the prosecutors, I've given speeches at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. So it's in other words, for me, it's important, it's very important to me that when people read my books or buy my system or go to the movie, that they take away the right message. That there are certain things that I did in my life that represent almost like the best of humanity. Building yourself up from nothing, coming back from failure, right? And going for your dreams and not settling for less. And this is something that the worst of all is not looking to give value, letting other people get hurt along the way, becoming greedy, giving into your carnal. And listen, I love sex. Sex is great. Okay, I probably shouldn't have slept with all the prostitutes. I admit that, but I'm not sitting there saying I'm a goody two shoes. All, you know, I get people are people. We all have the, you know, I think one of Scorsese's gifts is that the reason people, you know, enjoy the movie so much is because he doesn't judge. He's like, listen, this is good people do bad things. Bad people do good. It's like, you never really can. People are people, right? So I don't want to become this sort of a beacon of like, you know, drugs are terrible. I mean, listen, you know, some people can smoke pot and they live normal lives. I can't. Okay, you know, doing drugs, and listen, cocaine's always evil, okay? So, you know, but the point is that the movie, rather than being a tale of morality, okay, just remember this. The drugs, that aspect is not something you want to model in your own life. What you want to model is the ability to have an idea and a vision and go for it, not live in fear.
And didn't Leonardo DiCaprio kind of give you a testimony off the record?
He did. No, well, Leo actually, you know, I think I said earlier about when I first was going out into the world to speak, I didn't want to teach sales. I says, you know, it's too powerful, the straight line system. If I teach it, people can misuse it. And Leo's like, what are you crazy? Because the things, because we had been through this. Leo in the movie is just, he goes through the straight line system, and it's unbelievable. In fact, the movie ends with a seminar, and I have a cameo, which is great. I actually introduced myself. I introduced Leo as me, and he's giving a seminar to people, you know, and teaching them how to sell using the straight line system, the logos in the back, and that's really, really cool. And Leo is just, I think and this is another interesting point, is that the movie, you know, the script was written 6 years ago. I actually changed the ending of my own movie because originally it ended with me in jail, the first script, okay, and I was in jail, and that was the movie. Well, it got delayed for 6 years, and in those 6 years, I built up this really great business with teaching the straight lines. And Marty and Leo were so amazed, they changed the third act. So talk about having a vision for your own future and being able to really, you know, no matter where you are in your life. I don't care if you're at the bottom of your life right now. You're in a spot where you think there's no way out. There's always a way out. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't like I just said, oh, I'm going to go and become a speaker. I had all this negative baggage, negative press, all these things. Is he really rehabilitated? Is he reformed? Does he have some secret angle? All the stuff that I had to overcome. And it wasn't easy, and it wasn't always pleasant. But I had this vision. I knew where I wanted to go, and I worked really, really hard. And at the end of the day, Leo gave me this amazing testimonial where he says, my ambition and hard work. It's, how I transform people's lives and blah, 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 blah. And it was amazing. And then he wrote a letter as well, and it was great for my career. But the amazing part, I think, is to change the ending of your own life story. Now, my life's not over yet, hopefully. But, the movie ended in jail. Now it ends with my new business. That's the power of persuasion. I don't care where you are in your life. I don't care how low you've fallen from any mistakes you made. You're not the mistakes of your past. You're the resources and the capabilities that you glean from your mistakes. You get stronger with every screw up. If you're willing to learn from them. Unless if you want to dwell on the past and live in your past and live in the mistakes, yeah, then you're going to be paralyzed with fear and doubt and everything else, and you're never going to live life to the fullest. But if you're willing to take a good, hard look at the past and say, listen, that was not good, I did, and I'm going to switch I see what my mistakes were, I know what I did right, know what I did wrong, and get honest with yourself and learn from those mistakes. If you have this power of persuasion, the ability essentially to take a vision and turn it into reality, your life, I don't care where your life, you can come back from anything. And I'm living proof of that. And I think of those 50 emails I get a day, 48 are good. About 35 of them are just that. I was in a bad spot in my life, and I read your book, or I attended one of your seminars, or I bought the straight line system on the online course, and it changed my life. And to me, that is freaking cool. That's what it's all about.
Hello, I'm Leonardo DiCaprio, and some of you may know that I'll be playing Jordan Belfort in the new film Wolf of Wall Street. Now, what separates Jordan's story from others like it is the brutal honesty in which he talks about the mistakes that he's made in his life. I've been in his company many times, but there is nothing quite like Jordan's public speaking and his ability to train and empower young entrepreneurs. Jordan stands as a shining example of the transformative qualities of ambition and hard work. And in that regard, he is a true motivator.
From Wall Street broker